Not right. The action continues. A let's go situation here. Alexei Deacon going up against another team. Jeffrey Moore has perfect access to the bucket. Watch yourself on that normal replay of that last bit of action was Juan Fernandez actually wanting to dish off the against Master Jaworski. We're crossing the twilight zone. That's an eternity of basketball ahead of us.
All right, good morning to everybody, and this is an eternity of basketball. And of course, we are part of the Globally Ballin Network, and one of the shows on the Globally Ballin Network is Who the Heck Are We? And for episode 101, they will have our good friend Sebastian Potit de Vera, one of the assistant coaches of the recently crowned UAAP champions, the UP Maroons. That is on Thursday, May 26th at, it's done already actually, right? So they had Potit. All right, so you can watch that on replay once again. And here are our trending episodes on YouTube. Right now, Benji Paras has taken the lead. He has overtaken Juan Fernandez. And out of nowhere, at number 10, Bong Alvarez is making a triumphant comeback in that list after about 2 years of him having the interview on this show. So those are the most trending episodes on YouTube. And An Eternity of Basketball is also on Spotify. You can catch us on YouTube and Spotify. Please subscribe so you can get to know everything that's happening in the show, even from our past episodes. And the Globally Ballin Network has these shows also. You can check out all the social media: An Eternity of Basketball, Hang Time with Denise Dinzay, Mukbang with Jojo Maraginot, Who the Heck Are We? And of course, Next Man Up. And speak of Next Man Up, they are up after us and they are going live. So check out everything on globallyballin.com. And you can follow us on social media. Just click linktree/globallyballin to get easy access to everything that we have on the network. So, good morning to everybody. Sid, I forgot kung anong episode na tayo.
130.
130. Well, I'll take your word for it. Episode 130. My name is Noel Zarate with Sid Ventura. Charlie Cuna is, for the first time, not joining us here. He has to attend to an urgent family matter. So it's just going to be me and Sid. But we're going to have our hands full today, Sid, because we are going to be interviewing one of the icons of not only Philippine basketball, but also Philippine business. And his impact on the world of triathlon has also been fantastic, especially here in the Philippines. We are going to go straight at it right now with no less than the man himself, Mr. Wilfred Steven Uytengsu. Let's bring him in right now. Good morning. There you go. Good morning, Mr. Fred. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be on An Eternity of Basketball.
Morning, Noel. Hi, Sid. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're
Oh,
good.
we're doing great. We're looking forward to getting this off because I know you have a very busy schedule. We're starting at 9:30 because Mr. Uytengsu does have to be somewhere in a little bit over an hour. So let's just get this ball rolling. You were actually born in Cebu in 1961, and then you fell in love with sports along the way. Tell us about the early evolution of Wilfred Uytengsu and his humble beginnings in Cebu.
Correct. Born in Cebu, and then my father brought the family up to Manila in 1966. So I can say born in Manila, born in Cebu, raised in Manila. And like most kids, got involved in sports. I started playing Little League baseball. I liked being out there with my friends, but what I realized is I didn't like losing because someone else made a mistake. The same time, a lot of my friends were swimming, and I didn't really know how to swim. So I got out there and I actually drowned the first time I tried to swim. And it was probably, I was 9 before I learned how to swim. And what I really liked is that my success or failures were attributable solely to me. So if I did well, I could say that's because I worked hard. If I didn't, I looked in the mirror and it was 100% my fault. So, from about the age of 9 till I was 21, I committed to swimming and swam for the Philippines on a variety of occasions. Left for the U.S. when I was in my 3rd year of high school. Went to boarding school and continued to swim there. Went to the University of Southern California. Walked on as an NC2A Division I swimmer. At that time, USC was a top 3 program in the U.S. Had a dozen, maybe 15 Olympians on them. So I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go on to a team just like that. And then still came back and swam for the Philippines in the 1981 SEA Games. And, it was, I realized, I've been asked this question, why sports? What I really like is I like to compete. And so when I retired from swimming, went into business and I started competing in the boardroom, in business. And when we started the PBA, I started competing on the hard court.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
That's probably a condensed version of my sporting background.
Yeah. Well, it never ends, though, right, Sid?
Well, it didn't end there. I found after I retired from competitive swimming, I still wanted to compete. So I found different avenues, whether it was playing softball, and then I discovered triathlon, and I said, this is great. I get to compete against guys my own age. So it's good.
But that's no mean feat what you did in Hawaii when you're a 2-time Kona finisher. That's just to let everybody know what an Ironman race is. That's like I think the last part is a 42K. And then somewhere along the way, I don't know how many kilometers you have to ride your bike. I don't know how many oceans you have to cross. But the last part is a full marathon. So, and you completed that twice.
Correct. I did it twice at the World Championships, but I've raced. I've done 5 total and 25 half Ironmans. But it is. I mean, for those who are interested, it's a 3.8 kilometer swim. It's a 120 kilometer bike ride, and we finished with a 42 kilometer run.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
I can only run 5 kilometers. No.
So I used to kid. I tell you, I used to kid the players. I said, look, when it comes time to contract negotiation, we'll race. If I win, no salary. If you win, you determine the size of your race. I had no takers.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. Well, Gomez would have had a problem with that, right? Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, Fred. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about your experience at the SEA Games 1981. That was the first time that the Philippines hosted the SEA Games, and it was like the coming out party of Lydia de Vega. It's a big celebration actually for sports here in the Philippines. But personally, what are your memories from that SEA Games?
Well, a bittersweet, I will say. I was very proud to come back and represent the Philippines. I left school to come back and compete for the Philippines. I was supposed to swim my 2 favorite events, which is the 100 and 200 meter butterfly, and then swim on several relays. When I got here, the coach said, we're only going to put you on the relays. And I said, well, why? And he said, that's my decision. And I realized later one of his swimmers was also going to be swimming the same events. And I said, you know, you flew me, you know, the country flew me back here to the Philippines to represent the country. And he's not even faster than me. And I said, let's go, let's race right now. And whoever wins swims for the Philippines. He wouldn't budge. And I sat in the stands and I watched the other guys swim. You know, I don't know how I would have won, but I know my fastest time was faster than his fastest time. So that was disappointing to not be able to represent the country to the fullest. I did swim 2 relays, the 400 free relay and the 800 free, the 400 medley relay. We won silver and bronze.
Right.
Wow.
Well, that was unfortunate, right?
How?
It is, but it's an example of the politics in sports.
Just out of curiosity, the guy who replaced you in your 2 favorite events, how did he fare? Did he
didn't get on the podium.
Okay,
he
there we go.
Pretty sure. but not long after that, with swimming, of course, you did have to transition into the business of the Alaska Milk Corporation. So, what was that like? You know, finishing at University of from USC, coming back and getting into the family business.
So I graduated in 1983. I got married in 1985, and my father invited me to come back to the Philippines. I always knew that was part of the plan, to come back home and to join the family business. And surprisingly, this is July of 1985 now. A couple of months here, and he said, you know, there's PBA, Ray Marquez, if you know, former Commissioner Marquez. He said, who's a friend of my father's, Alaska should think about joining the PBA. My father gave me the project. I studied it. We found it to be good value, not just from a simple gut feel. We did the analysis at that time. This is 1985. We determined that the cost of owning a team, this is back in 1985, was about 20 cents on the dollar. So for every peso of advertising value, the cost to us was 20%. So it made a lot of sense. Of course, didn't know anything about organizing a team, running a team, and even having a successful team. But we decided to move forward with it, and that was the entry into the PBA. How we actually got in is a longer story.
I would love to hear that story, but you know, doing the math, you were 24 or 25 years old when you were given this project. What was that like on your mind? Yeah, 24 when you were given this project. So that's mind-boggling.
You know, I mean, what a tremendous privilege. I think about it now, how much trust my father put in me to allow me to do that. Because honestly, I really didn't know what I was doing. You know, I mean, that's the honest answer. I tried to use good judgment. I did my homework, but I was not prepared. And it showed up when we began to negotiate for our contract and our franchise into the PBA. If you remember, Tommy Manotoc, who was deputy commissioner at the time, was actually running the show. And it's quite interesting that here we are full circle, 1986 to 2022. You know, Tommy was the son-in-law of the president. Now he's the brother-in-law, president-elect. So
former brother-in-law.
Okay, good clarification. Former.
Yeah.
But you know, I went to negotiate the deal with Tommy, and you know, there was no negotiation. He says these are the terms, and take it or leave it. So very one-sided discussion. We made the best of what we were given. The expansion pool, teams were allowed to protect 10 players. So if you know what happened in subsequent years, teams were only allowed to protect 8 or 7. So then it became a lot more interesting to the new clubs. But that was my fault. I think if I had negotiated harder, stood my stand, that might have been a different story. Then again, you don't know. Tommy Manotoc was Tommy Manotoc. So.
Yeah, before we go on, Fred, one of your former players is greeting you. It's Ricky Relosa. It says,
Ricky,
nice to see you again, Boss Fred. That's his message.
Ricky, if you're watching, good to hear from you, and hope you're well.
Okay, I think we lost Noel there
Yeah,
for a
I
little
see
bit.
him.
Yeah. But yeah, so heading into the 86 season, of course, we also had that the EDSA revolution in February, and things were kind of fluid for several months. At any time, did you guys think of backing out because of the unstable political climate at that time in the country?
Well, we've always been an apolitical company
Mhm.
throughout the years, and the way we looked at it is the private sector has to move forward,
Mhm.
irrespective of what's happening politically and what the situation was. So obviously, we approached it with concern, but we still felt that the PBA would be a good vehicle to advertise for Alaska, and we went forward with it. So I would say no concerns of not pushing through, but concerns about how we could make this work properly.
Okay. And then I remember that season started a little later than usual, like in April, because of what happened, the transition
Correct.
in power. And then, but what was it like that first conference for the Milkmen? To finally be on a big stage. The first. Do you remember the first game of Alaska?
If I remember correctly, we played Shell. I
Hmm.
know I was wearing a red and white striped shirt, and we won that game. And I thought it was the greatest thing. What I didn't realize is how hard that first season was going to be, because we struggled. We all the trials and tribulations that come with an expansion club, and
Hmm.
even recruiting the first team. I was younger than every player on the team, and they're probably looking at who is this young kid who doesn't know what he's doing, and he's going to tell us what to do. I had just come back from the States after having been away for 10 years. And I would say, it was a bit of re-immersion into culture.
Hmm.
Having been away, I just did things in a very Western way, and did not appreciate and perhaps respect some of our cultural norms here. And so that was interesting. But at the same time, I also felt it was important to bring some of the aspects that I had learned both
Hmm.
in school and in working in the US, and bring those back. And a big part of that was professionalism, because I felt that was lacking in the league as a whole, and the way teams were run. We wanted to create our team as a strategic business unit. We wanted to have key performance indicators. We want it to be successful. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
competitive part again, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't say just go out there and win. You have to provide the players and the coaching staff with the tools to be successful, and that was a learning process. And it was also trying to find a coach who hated to lose more than I did, which is hard
Hmm.
to find. Um, we needed to find players who were going to dedicate themselves to the game. And that started with simple things like no smoking in the dugout. This is
Hmm.
1986. Players and coaches were still smoking in the dugout. Unbelievable.
You put a stop to that.
Yeah.
Right away. Right away. And so then the next thing I knew, that they'd pretend to hide the cigarette behind their back. And I said, no, guys, if I catch you smoking, you're suspended.
Uh-huh.
How many players did you suspend? I imagine quite
I
a
think we
few.
suspended two. I actually, um, our first coach, who was a chain smoker, I also had to get him to agree to not smoke in front of the players, because it couldn't be a double-edged sword that Tony Vasquez is out there
Hmm.
smoking, and yet the players can't. So it was an evolution.
Right. I remember when we had Tim Cohn as a guest. He said that in his first coaching stint at the Ultra, during halftime, when he was about to go re-enter the court, he saw two of his players smoking outside of the parking area. He said he couldn't understand that either.
Yeah, I mean, look, we couldn't police it 100%, but I just didn't want it to be blatant. I think that's changed. Hopefully, that's changed. I certainly didn't see it, because if I'd seen it, I would have suspended them on the spot.
Right. I'm sorry, I dropped out. My computer had to reset for some reason. But I'm wondering if Sid already asked you about how Alaska came about hiring Tim Cohn. Did you come to
No,
that
no,
part
we haven't.
already?
No,
We,
no,
we
we
haven't
haven't.
gotten to
We're
that
still
part.
at we're still at the first season. We're still at the first
No.
season of Alaska.
Okay.
80,
So is it good
86.
timing for me to ask? I mean, I believe Tim and yourself were friends even before you became employee.
Yeah, I think before we get to that, the first year, as Sid was asking me, was a rocky start.
Mhm.
We also went through a lot of coaches. We started with Tony Vasquez, then we had Cesar Jota, and then we had Nat Ganson. And it wasn't until, well, it was the next year, 1987, when we made our first finals appearance. And,
Right.
we got swept by Great Taste. It was a best of three.
Yeah.
And I look back, the learning there is we were just so excited to have made the finals. We forgot we actually had to win. And so, it took us several attempts going to the finals before we understood it. We lost a second time to San Miguel, a little bit better. We won one game in a best of seven.
Best of seven, yeah.
And then the third time in 1990, when we played Pure Foods, then it was a 2-3 series. So we got better, and it wasn't really until 91 where we had our first taste of true success. But at that time, that's when we had 5 coaches total, and Tim came on as the head coach. And as you pointed out, Noel, I had known Tim from high school back in the 70s, and Tim had gone to the U.S. He played basketball in high school, played basketball in college, came back, and his only coaching experience was coaching the international school varsity team. So you can't necessarily say he had pedigree at that time compared to the other coaches. But Tim was and is a good student of the game, also fiercely competitive. But the problem was, he was a friend. And I've always had the principle of not doing business with friends because sometimes it doesn't work out. And a friendship can end because coaching is perhaps one of the most insecure jobs in the world. You look at the rigadon that the coaches have gone through here in the PBA. Look at in the NBA. Yeah. You're only as good as your next championship. And we were in a game one time. Tim was sitting next to me, and he said, "You're not doing this. You're not doing this. You're not doing this." And I'm a bad loser. Okay, when we lose, I'm not happy. And he was in my ear talking. And I just turned around and I said, "God damn it. If you think you can do such a good job, why don't you do it yourself?" And he said, "Is that an offer?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe this is not a good idea." Anyway, we had that conversation and I said, "Look, here's the reality. There will probably come a point in time when I have to fire you. And that could jeopardize the friendship. So for as long as we both understand that is not a possibility, it's very probable it will happen. Then we go forward with it. And that is how Tim started coaching Alaska.
Amazing.
He also guested here. He was one of our first guests, and he did mention that there were a couple of times early in the 1990s when he in fact came close to being fired, said, because things weren't working out with the triangle offense, and players weren't buying in and stuff like that. And he felt that. I think you gave him an ultimatum: if you don't turn it around this conference, then it's probably gonna end.
That was one of a few times where we were like that. In fairness to Tim, he brought a lot of discipline. He anchored the philosophy not just on the triangle, but on defense first, because if you recall, in the 80s, the scores were 120 to 130. There really wasn't any defense. And, offense, you can have an off night. You can be, Steph Curry, and you can still have a bad night. But defense, the only way you have bad defense is you have bad attitude or lack of effort. And so if you instill defense in the team, that can come out and show up every day, even against some of the greatest offensive players, in the world. And that's what started. But it takes a lot of work, and the players resisted. They didn't like having to play defense 48 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna talk more about that as we enter our first segment of our show. It's called the Time Capsule, and this Time Capsule is brought to us by Boss Guapo Cars. We're gonna show a series of photos here, Fred. Let's see how many memories you're gonna come up with. So Boss Guapo Cars, you can get fresh pre-owned cars available, 1-day auto loan approval. Call the number on your screen. Boss Guapo Cars, our segment here for Time Capsule. So let's start it off. I'm pretty sure we're gonna dig up a few of these. So what is this? Freddie, they call you Freddie Uytengsu on the heat. This is of course one of your photos
written
by your days as a swimmer.
Written by the late Pike Hawk's son, so it's probably from the early 80s, because I think Pike died in the early 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so when photos like this pop up, Fred, what comes to mind?
Well, I'm surprised you found that. I mean, I kind of remember some of these pictures. The one in the top corner was in my bedroom here in Manila. So, yeah, those are my swimming days, and I was defined by being a swimmer as a youth. I dedicated a lot of my life. I spent 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year doing it, and fond memories. There's a lot of sacrifice, but I think if you want to be the best version of yourself in anything, you have to commit to it, and you will sacrifice. But I look on it with really great memories, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from swimming about commitment, dedication. The passion was there, or else I would not have done it. Thanks for sharing that. You're going to have to send me a copy.
Yeah, we will. We'll send a copy.
I'm surprised that the Philippines is a showbiz country. I'm surprised none of the big movie companies came up to you and say, "Oy, guwapo ka, bago gusto mo maging artista." Did you ever get those offers?
No, I don't think so. People always ask me if I'm the Alaska boy, and that was actually my brother. I was on the other side of the camera, but if I go into the palenque when I was working there, they say, "Hey, Alaska man," and so everyone thought that was me, and it was not. It was my brother. I prefer to be on the other side.
Yeah, that's actually an urban legend here. I mean, or a myth. That you're the Alaska boy. So thank you for clearing that up. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually your brother Michael. We actually have a clarification. There was an article written about that. All right, let's take a look at our next photo here. So we're going to leave that swimming photo and move straight into Alaska. Will it be milk and honey for Alaska? This has been an article or a title that's been used several times, and of course here are the early pictures with Alaska. So you did come up with some memories earlier, but we're seeing these pictures again now. What memories come back to you?
Well, I see that Jolas looks like a little kid there. I see Ricardo Brown. So I'm guessing that might have been the time when we played them in our first championship. Boy, these really bring back great memories. I asked for some of these to be compiled, and I just haven't gone back and looked at some of this, but fond memories. The basketball team was a big part. I was still getting my feet wet in the business, and so I had the opportunity to spend time at practice. I spent a lot of time with the team in the first, well, certainly in the first 4 or 5 years, but even for 20 odd years, it was a big part of my life. But I can't say more anything. It brings a smile to my face to see some of these old photos.
Well, 36 years in the PBA, that's more than half your lifetime already with the team. So, with these photos, there's more. There's more where this came from. Go ahead, Sid.
I just had a question because I think the photo on the right is from late 85 when you guys were about to join, because I think that's the year Ricardo Brown won his MVP. Yeah, so that's the MVP trophy. No, I just wanted to mention here, one of the guys in the photos is Norman Black. And he was actually one of your first hires, if I remember right.
Correct.
But he didn't play right away, right? If I understand correctly.
No.
If I remember correctly.
I think he actually came on when San Miguel took a leave of absence from the league.
Yeah.
But his rights were retained by San Miguel. So he came on and he played for us. Well, I'm just going to say maybe only for a year. It wasn't long, but yeah, Norman, it's amazing the longevity that Norman has had in Philippine basketball.
It's also amazing that your two hires, Tim Cohn and Norman Black, actually started out as broadcasters before joining Alaska.
That's right.
Not very many people know that.
But did Norman start off as a broadcaster before he was an import?
He was an import, but during the time when he was in hiatus, he actually started broadcasting, and then you picked him up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the others in the photo are Arnett Wadless, I think, who was one of the part of your initial team.
Correct.
Then, but the others,
I'm not seeing it so clearly. So is that Bogs Adordano? I can't.
It's Bernie Fabiosa and Abe King.
But
I think this was a speculative article. Just presenting possible hires for Alaska coming into that 1986 season. So
yeah.
We would have liked to have JoJo from the beginning, but it took us a few years to get him.
Well, you still got him, and he gave you a bulk of your championships as well.
He did. Did.
Yeah, let's take a look at the next photo, Aaron. All right, now this is there's the Milton Honey
Donnie
thing.
Ray Kuntz.
Yeah,
yes.
that's
and Jerry Eves.
Jerry Eves. That's right. Yep. And that was our
in selecting imports, Fred, did you actually have a direct hand in selecting the imports? I mean, I know you're a character guy. You like to look for players to have character. And I'm sure that's one of the bases for hiring imports.
It is and was a big part. In the early days, I was still trying to learn how to run the team the best way we could. So no, in the first several years, I didn't. It probably wasn't until late 80s, around 90, where we would work. We'd look at tape. Remember back then, you couldn't send it over the internet. You had to have a VHS tape sent to you, and you'd look at it. It was really, the quality was terrible, and you couldn't really tell if the player on the film was the player you were going to get. So it was different, a different time then. So in the early stages, no, I left it to Joe Aquino, who was our first team manager, and who the coach was, depending on the first 5 coaches.
Yeah.
Donnie Ray Kuntz, one of the best imports.
Donnie Ray Kuntz was already a veteran. He was already a veteran. But how did you guys chance upon Jerry Lee Eves? Would you recall? Because this guy was a legitimate NBA veteran before he joined the PBA.
I think at that time we had to rely on what was their pedigree. Had they played at a good Division I team in the U.S., anyone who played in the NBA, obviously that was a bonus, because what were the chances that the PBA was going to get an NBA veteran to come out? So we took agents on their word at that time. You imagine how much recruiting and choosing imports has changed over the years, especially in the last 5 years, when a lot more detail goes into the data on them. But like you said, a lot was a character. I mean, some of these players are great players on the court, but if the chemistry isn't good with the team, then it doesn't really work. Look at some of these, look at Tony Harris, I mean, unbelievable athlete, but he would never have worked at Alaska, or Billy Ray Bates for that matter. A couple of the most prolific imports to ever come to the PBA. That would not have worked with us, because we didn't want to have an import who would come out and dominate. We felt that if the import had a bad night, then it would probably mean the end of the team. And sure enough, that's happened to those teams who had these prolific imports, because the locals just sat back and said, let the import do it. He's getting paid a lot of money. We don't have to go out and break our backs for it.
Well, yeah, this is a great photo of 2 imports of several that have gone through the Alaska franchise over the 36-year stint in the PBA. Let's take a look at our next photo, just to stay here with the time capsule. Now, this, I'm not sure if you have this photo on your this is yourself. This is, of course, with your wife, Coach Tim beside you on the left. And I believe, is that Eric Del Rosario?
That's Aric. That's Coach Aric.
Wow.
And behind them is Tessa Hasmines.
Yeah, Tessa Hasmines.
I think was this a wedding? It must be a wedding, right?
This must be a wedding.
Yeah.
This must be a wedding.
Wow.
You don't remember which one? You don't remember which one though?
I'm trying to identify the church actually, but I can't. So
Nah, that's close to impossible to identify the church. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like from the late 80s because Coach Eric there looks like he's only
He looks
30.
like a kid.
yeah, that's right. About the culture that you established in Alaska, and I've heard this from a few of your former coaches that you establish it like it's like a business, like a corporation. The same way you run the Alaska Milk Corporation is the same way the Alaska Aces or the Alaska Milkmen should be run. How true is this statement?
No, it's 100% true. Like I said, even when we started the team, I wanted it to be an independent business unit that had goals, had targets, and there was a meritocracy. We didn't want a culture of superstars that the rules applied to some. The rules applied to everyone. So whether it was the no smoking policy, whether it was the uniform policy, everyone, if you had to show up, if call time was, 3 o'clock for a 5 o'clock game, it was 3 o'clock. If you showed up 5 minutes late, you wouldn't start the game. And I remember, some of the earlier coaches didn't want to take the chance because if it was a star player who wasn't going to start, it could mean we would lose the game. And I felt the principle is only the principle if it costs you something. If you just say it in concept and don't enforce it, then players will continue, and even coaches for that matter, won't respect the rules. Mm-hmm. So there were times where if a player showed up late, he didn't start. And it wasn't our fault. We wanted the whole organization to say, why didn't you show up on time? Because you didn't show up on time. Now you're going to cost us the game.
Yeah. Well, I just got a message from one of our fans and saying it's his wedding that this picture is taken from. His name is Eric Altamirano. This was Coach Eric Altamirano's wedding.
Of course. Okay, Eric's our hi, Eric, if you're watching.
He's watching. Okay. He's just lurking in the background there, but it is Eric Altamirano's wedding that Fred attended in Green Meadows Church.
Okay.
Oh, no wonder the church looked familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's watching, and a bunch of the other
quick
players.
Piece of trivia.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For Eric, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Eric was one of the first players we traded, and it was heartbreaking because Eric, was and is and continues to be a fantastic person. And I remember said that we have to make sure we do this properly, and it set the way for how we would treat players when we traded them. That you need to sit down, you need to explain. Through no wrongdoing of Eric's alone, we just needed to make a personnel change because in the collective judgment of myself and the coaches that, we felt we need to go in a different direction. And I agonized over that because, players are human beings too, and they deserve to be treated with respect and let them know that they're going to have to move on. And over the years, we've tried to make sure we treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve.
Yeah, well, that's the way it's supposed to really be in professional sports. We, besides Eric Altamirano, we had a few players already jump in and say hello. I don't know if Ricky Relosa is still watching probably right now.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
We're going to have a few more come in, but this is just a great photo. We can send this to you as well, and to Coach E as well. All right, what's our next photo, Aaron? This is fun stuff. Okay, now this is one of the many championships. But I see Alex Araneta in the picture. So this should be a 91, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because Alex Araneta is there, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Don Polistico's there. Napaton is there.
B-Boy.
Yeah.
Peter Aguilar.
Peter's there. Alex Araneta, B-Boy. Yeah. I think that could be 91.
Yeah. And the legendary Tom Urbano. I mean, who can forget, right?
Right there.
Tom's been with you from the start. Yeah.
He was fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
So very young Fred Uytengsu celebrating with the team. This is after just
Yeah,
5 years in the PBA, finally getting one championship.
Yeah, my wife's there right next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're right about Jolas looking like a little kid.
Yeah. I was looking for Sean
Mhm.
Chambers. I couldn't find him in the photo, but this was also, I think, Sean's first championship, right? Third conference,
Yeah.
91, if I'm not mistaken.
Would have been. That's right.
Yeah.
Would have been.
Yeah.
And
Talk
Bong Alvarez was
about
also
Sean
there.
Chambers, Fred. Sean has been instrumental not only in the growth of, not only in the championships, but also in the growth of the culture of Alaska. So talk about Sean.
You know, Sean's claim to fame is he came out here with a team. He beat Billy Ray Bates in the slam dunk contest. And you know, Sean didn't necessarily have the pedigree, if you will. This is a good example where character trumps pedigree. He played at a small school at Cal Poly. You know, not even ranked in the top 100 in America, but he brought passion and dedication and teamwork, and he embraced Filipino culture. I mean, until today, and I'm in touch with Sean. We probably text or talk, you know, several times every year. This is an individual who just gave 100% when he was there, gave 100% to his teammates, gave 100% to his franchise. And we brought him back the first time. We just loved the way he played. The reason I liked his character when he started, you know, we said, you can bring one person out with you. You can bring a girlfriend out. And everyone did, right? Players would bring girlfriends or wives. He brought his mother out. He brought his mother out the first time, and I have a lot of respect. And we won this championship, if I'm not mistaken. He took some of the money from his bonus to help buy his mother a house.
Wow.
So that to me was really endearing. And I said, you know, if all of our players can have that same mentality, you know, we would have won many Grand Slams.
Right. So this is great.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like for you here in 91, celebrating on the court after seeing so many other teams do it in front of you?
You know, we had been 3 times the bridesmaids, so to have actually won that, it was just special. You know, died and gone to heaven. But the flip side to that was, now that you've tasted winning, you want to keep winning, and that was the beginning of our run in the 90s.
Yeah.
Was this championship particularly sweet, not just because it was the first, but you know, it came against Ginebra, which the most
If I'm not
popular
mistaken,
team. They had Wes Matthews. Yeah.
Wes Matthews. You know, and Wes was a talker. He was a big time trash talker, right? And you know, to see him, he's talking. He would talk to the bench. He would talk to the stands. And then I remember, you know, I mean, we won that 3-1. And, you know, I was always pretty vocal from the stands, and I would engage with the players. And, you know, I remember looking at him, and he wasn't so happy after having lost. And I was like, okay, I don't hear you talking now, big boy. But, you know, I mean, obviously Ginebra, a great franchise, you know, was back in the 80s, continues to be, you know, the team of the people. So to beat a franchise like that, very rewarding. And I think was the beginning of our rivalry. You know,
That's
I mean,
true.
even till today, when we announced that our retirement from the PBA, you know, there were a lot of fans, not Alaska fans, but Ginebra fans, that said, you know, we hated you on the court, but we're going to miss you.
So many
I'll take it as a
rivalries along the
compliment.
way.
Yeah.
That's true. Let's take a look at our next photo. I'm sure we got a bunch of these championship photos. There's another one right there with the late Commissioner June Bernardino, but with Jeffrey Cariaso there now and Sean Chambers. So this is probably one of the pieces of the Grand Slam from 96.
Yeah, I think
this could be the last one.
I see Kevin Ramos in there as well. Jolas, Chambers. Yeah, Poch. Wow.
Johnny, of course.
Yeah. And still in our vintage. Oh, there's you can see the title. Alaska scores a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. This is it.
Yeah. End of 96.
So now the thirst of winning, your competitive spirit that you want to keep on winning. And finally, in 1996, you actually came close to losing. The shell almost took you out, right? I mean, the Richie takes on three-pointer at the corner that shouldn't have happened, and you came back and won it. But was it more of relief getting the Grand Slam than jubilation, or was jubilation still reigning over relief?
I think it's relief followed by jubilation, because the pressure, you try not to talk about it. We won the third conference the year before, then we won the first conference, then the second conference, and now there's a lot of pressure, right? Only 2 other teams had won a Grand Slam, and we said, look, we don't even want to talk about a Grand Slam until we get to the semis, then to the finals. Now, once it's there and it's game on, you want that buzzer to end, and you want to win that 4th game. So we were relieved, but what a very special time for the franchise, for the coaches, for the players. It's in the history books.
Right, and this is a pretty special team. Yeah.
The starting 5 of this Grand Slam team, Fred, except for Jolas, all of them you just built through the draft. Right? Yeah. I mean, Johnny.
Well,
Pod,
Bong came
Jeff.
to us. Bong
For
Hawkins
trade.
came to us
and Bong,
through a trade.
Bong as well. Yeah, but you drafted very well, 93 to 95, laying the cornerstones of this Grand Slam team. Johnny fell to you with the number 3 pick.
I was surprised that Johnny fell to 3, but people went with big, and Johnny still has to be one of the greatest point guards to have ever played in the PBA. Don't forget, we've also got I see Dickie Bachman right there behind Johnny.
Yeah.
So that was the ABC draft. We got Abrientos, Bachman, and Cardell.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then eventually, in '95, you got Jeff.
That's right. But what's interesting here, you mentioned this about the draft. Back then, teams kept their first round draft choice. They didn't sell them. And that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, when you've got first round picks going to other teams, I just don't see how that helps the longevity and the integrity of the league when that's allowed to happen.
You're very vocal about some of the things that happened in the PBA during your time. Was this being vocal, trying to say, hey guys, we better shape up or we might lose everything? Or was it just, this is wrong and I'm pointing it out?
Both. I mean, I think if you ask anyone whether you agree with me or not, we were very principled. We wanted to honor the game. We wanted to honor the rules of the league. We wanted to honor the players. And, to me, there's only one correct version of the truth, whether that's salary cap, whether it's in trades, whether, was your hand on the ball when the buzzer went off? Yes or no? That's not a judgment call. So now to see the way rules have become gray, 50 different shades of gray for that matter, it's just, how does that help? And I've been vocal about that we need to think league. Obviously, every team wants to win. I want to win, but not at the expense of impacting the league, because our fans are smart. Our fans know the difference of whether this is okay or not, right? And so, if we're not careful, and I said this till the last day we were in the league, the board, the commissioner, everyone needs to think league first.
Okay. Well, that's
very well said.
Yeah, that's very well said, actually. In the picture, lifting the trophy with Commissioner Bernardino is actually Jeff Cariaso. Was this just because he was in the area, or did you say, Jeff, get the trophy? Because Jeff was like the missing piece, I really felt, with that Alaska team.
He was. Look, whenever you go onto the court after a championship, it's pandemonium. There are no rules. I think who's ever there, Jeff being the young guy, he was probably so excited he grabbed the trophy, I'm sure. So happy for him to have been part of that championship and several others, and to welcome back Jeff as a coach to retire as the final coach of Alaska.
Here's another one of the 14 championships, and this is with a completely different set of players now.
I think this
I
is
see
the last
Gabby
one.
Espinas. I see Tony De La Cruz. Is that Paulo Bugia?
Boogs is there. We've
Yeah.
got JV. We've got Calvin. I think this is our last championship.
This was the last one.
2013.
Sonny Thoss. Oh, there's
Also-
another player that I wanted to ask about, Sonny Thoss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not every day that you get to have a player that you draft and retires in the same team. Talk about the character also. It's all about character here with Alaska, but I think Sonny Thoss is like the epitome of an Alaska player.
He really is. I mean, super clean cut, great person. When he came to us as a rookie, and he came to us as a skinny rookie. It took us a long time to build him, but he worked really hard. And I think ultimately this is why we decided to retire his number. He was only the seventh player to have his number retired, which coincidentally was number 7.
Right.
But really, really proud of the way Sonny conducted himself as a professional player, as a person, as a parent, and a husband. So he is very much the epitome of an Alaska player.
A lot of really familiar faces here. Of course, Luigi Trillo was at the helm in this one, and
the architect that.
Yeah, and that is that Topex right there. Topex is also.
Yes, it's Topex.
Yeah, I see Topak, RJ.
Yeah.
JV Casio is seated.
Yeah, he's in front.
Bottom left. Yeah.
Yeah.
You beat Ginebra here, right?
Again.
Vernon Macklin. So, there's kind of like full circle. Your first championship, you beat Ginebra, and then what turned out to be the last championship of the franchise, you also beat Ginebra. I mean, let's talk about coincidences.
I was hoping we had one more, and I mean, obviously Ginebra won this last championship. So had we been in the finals, that would have been poetic. But I guess that was too much to ask for.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So all of the championships, 14 in total, through 36 years in the PBA. Let's move on to the next photo. We do have to. Oh, there's Tom Urbano.
There he is.
And the nice thing about what I'm hearing, Fred, I'm not part of the Alaska organization in any way, shape, or form, but you treat all employees with a lot of respect. And Tom, being a former PBA referee, stuck with the team from '86, and this has been the case with other guys like Gus, like Dr. Soon, the guys who have been with the team from the start. I mean, how special are they? What special place do they have in your heart as a team owner of Alaska?
Obviously everyone knows the players and the coaches. These are the unsung heroes who do a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the dirty work, and never really ask for much in return. And so even down to our utility staff. But, Tom he was a character, right? I mean, we're going back. Many people won't even know who Tom is back from his refereeing days. But he endeared himself to the players. I thought he was wonderful. You talk about Dr. Soon and Gus Vargas and Mike Braga, who are part of our medical team. These guys are the unsung heroes because when we were injured or we were hurt, they are the ones who got our players back onto the lineup, back healthy to get on the court and to play. Until this day, I know that there were players who had been traded or who had left us. They still wanted Doc and Gus and Mike. Even if they're playing for other teams. And, them being the people they are, they help them even if they weren't on our team anymore. I said, just don't do it if they're playing against us. If they were playing us and they're hurt, I don't want you helping them. But, they're such good people that, they would help another player.
Yeah. I actually saw that happen in Cuneta once. One of your opponents, I forgot which player it was, one of your former players went over near your locker room and had Gus help him out. But I guess they do that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Great picture of Tom.
Yeah. Well, let's look at another photo. We got a couple more left. This is now with Carlos Singson of NBA Asia. And now your relationship with basketball has evolved more or expanded more from the PBA. Now also the junior NBA and the junior WNBA. Talk about the expansion of Alaska into just more than the PBA.
Well, I think, the PBA and the NBA are the epitome of basketball in the eyes of the youth, right? I mean, every Filipino basketball player child aspires to be a professional player. And that's what Alaska was, but very few. When we were 8 teams, so if it's 12, 90, less than 100 players in a country of 100 plus million get to play in the PBA at any one time. And so the only way you help that is through developing grassroots programs. And there's so many different programs, but we felt Alaska had to have our hand in some of the development. And so part of that was through the Alaska Power Camp, and then obviously a tie-up with the Junior NBA, who ran their camps. And if you look at how many Junior NBA players went on to become PBA players, star players in the UAAP and the NC2A, but then several have made it up to the PBA.
Kai Soto was actually part of Junior NBA, right?
Correct.
2015.
Correct. Yeah.
So he could be an NBA player very soon.
And the son of a former Alaska ace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
Irvin
right.
Soto.
Irvin Soto. That's right.
Yep, that's right.
So Alaska is now expanding to more than the PBA, of course, also more than basketball with your relationship with because of Sunrise events, which you eventually put up with triathlon and Ironkids. And all the Ildefonso kids went through
That's right.
Ironkids. I don't know if anybody will ever remember this, but all Sean, David, Pia, they all went through Ironkids, and I think if you ask them, they'll probably attribute their athletic success to their stint in Ironkids, Fred.
I would like that. I remember Danny was still at San Miguel at the time. And, I have a lot of respect for Danny because he too is a consummate professional. I wish we had him over with us at some point in his career before he was coaching.
Right.
Okay.
So let's take a look at our next photo. All right, now talk about triathlon. Here we go. I mean, you were 40-something, I guess, when this was taken, or maybe even 50-something when this was. A lot of people would be very, very envious of the lack of abs for someone your age, sir. So talk about your relationship with triathlon. You were in the very, very first triathlon that was run in this country.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I did my first race, I believe, I did a couple of races after I graduated from college in the U.S. They had an early race in Matabungkay in, maybe 80.
Wow. Matabungkay, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I mean, this is early stages. And then I stopped doing them. And then I resumed back probably when I was in my late 30s. I know from this jersey, I'm probably 40, 45 in this picture.
My goodness.
In one of these races. And, again, for me, it was a chance to stay fit and to compete. And I love the idea of competing in 3 different disciplines, swim, bike, and run. You didn't have to be great in all 3, but you had to be solid in a couple. And to see the sport grow, we're probably talking hundreds of triathletes back in the early days. And we started the first Ironman 70.3 in Kamsur. We were less than 500 athletes. Fast forward 10 years later, the database was over 20,000 triathletes throughout the Philippines. And look at the Philippines, we've been successful. We just recently won another gold medal at the SEA Games.
We're dominating in Olympic distance. Yeah. So I'm thinking that this might be an Olympic distance race that you were in, but then Ironman is a whole different ball game. I mean, that you're talking in Filipino, addict ka na pag nag-Ironman ka, but Ironman is like, diba? I mean, it's like ridiculous what you have to let your body endure to achieve a 3.8 kilometer swim, 120 kilometer bike, and a full marathon. What got you into doing that?
I think, again, the challenge. I remember watching some of the early Ironman races at the World Championships. And, to see the punishment that these people put themselves through. I've seen pictures of athletes crawl to the finish line. And these are professional athletes. And I looked at my wife one day. I said, I want to do that. And she goes, why? Why would you want to do
Same
that?
question.
And I said, but you test the upper limits of what you think is possible. And every time I do a race, she's my number one fan. She'd come out there and she goes, "Okay, that's it, right? You're done, never again." I said, "No, I think I still want to come back for more." But you talk about testing your body. Honestly, this is also a test of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind will, in most cases, quit before your body quits, because you're out there a long time. And my best time in full distance was 12 and a half hours. The world championships are finishing. The world champions are finishing in 9 hours. So, an old guy, I'm out there a lot longer. And there's some people who are taking 14, 15, 16, 17 hours. That's a long time to be in constant motion on your feet. But I like the challenge.
How long do you have to prepare for an Ironman race? Or personally, how long do you prepare?
Well, I would give myself a solid 9 months before doing a full distance race. But I always told people, give yourself several years before you build up to that distance. Start with a sprint, then do an Olympic distance, and then do some half Ironmans. Because if you jump into this too quickly, your body won't be prepared. You probably get injured, and in most cases, you're not going to have a good time. I mean, it sounds funny. I'm smiling here, but this is probably 1 or 2 times I'm smiling. Most of the time, I'm more like a masungit look on my face. but it's the whole concept of how hard can you go? How hard can you push yourself?
Right. And with Sunrise events, you really propagated it. I mean, Ironkids for me was like, that's an amazing concept. I mean, why wait until they're 18, 19 years old when you can start them off when they're 6?
Get them in young. I mean, kids today spend too much time on a computer or on their, iPad or some digital device. They forget how to go out and have fun outdoors.
Well, you've done a great job. Well, Sunrise, of course, your brainchild has done a great job with propagating the sport. This is the final picture that we have to share. I'm sure you want to see a lot more, but we really pressed for time right now.
Yeah.
But we do have a little bit more time to tell us about our halftime stuff here, our segments. We do have a new show. It's called Next Man Up, and that's not an accurate depiction of how tall Diego Dario is compared to Jello Vito. But they will be talking about gold, silver, and other awards. And you can see there are pictures of Robert Bolick, Junmar Fajardo, and Ella Fajardo, no relation, of course, and Mikey Williams. So Next Man Up is next up after this show. They are going live. So they are going live actually with this gentleman, Tyler Teo from Ateneo. That will be live on Kumu as well. So you can catch that after our show. Our next thing that we're going to talk about is, of course, if you enjoy the show, send us some stars and watch and listen to An Eternity of Basketball on Spotify. Next up, we also have ways that you can support us. Be a monthly supporter for only just 250 pesos a month or $499. Be a monthly supporter of our show. We would really appreciate it. And of course, the most popular episodes on Spotify. I think no one is going to get rid of this one. Usapan Smoking Joe with Sev Andy, Kinito, and Commissioner Willie Marshall. But Benji Paras is creeping up. He's now at number 2 on that list. Pito Harencio Atoy Ko, and the newcomer, Jericho Diniera now. Episode 85 is now number 5 on that list. Like and follow Globally Ballin Southeast Asia, and you can get all of our content right there. And we have so much to share with you here on Globally Ballin. Noel Zaratesto with Sid Ventura, and now with Fred Uytengsu. Fred, we're going to go through our segments. I know we are running out of time here, but we're going to go through a segment called The Twilight Zone, which is brought to us by Champ's House of Chicken and Tagaytay. And look, just screenshot that, guys. I don't have to tell you how good that thing is. Screenshot that because the number is there.
It's good.
The SMS and Viber, it's amazing. All right, at this point, we are going to go into something that we call X's or O's, which is brought to us by Nihao Bread Bakery in Tagaytay. And of course, that is paired very well with Hinaleban coffee. And you can have the adlay part for lunch, but a lot of healthy stuff right there. All right, so Hinaleban, this is X's or O's. I'm going to ask you now a series of questions, Fred. You just have to say which one you want, which you prefer over the question. You don't have to give an answer. You don't have to explain your answer. Just I'll give you the two names and there are 2 things, and then you just say which one you like. All right. So here's the first choice that I'm going to have to ask you to make. Is it, here's the first one, Luigi Trillo or Alex Compton?
Z.
Start off. C.
You know,
C,
they're
C,
both that
yeah.
you can't. Let's like try
Put
to
a
ask you
tie.
to choose which of your children you like the best. They're both upstanding people. I can't give you an answer on that one.
Yeah, you
Alex
can
is
have
a
a tie.
pretty-
You can answer with a tie. Yeah.
I'm just saying Alex is a baby damulag of this group. All right. Now, here's another one that's related to that. It's Johnny or Jolas.
Wow. You know what? There are going to be a lot of ties in this one.
Okay. All right. So here's something that you may have a difficult time tying because both of them might be close to your heart. The 1996 All-Filipino title against Pure Foods or the 1998 All-Filipino title against San Miguel. One must be sweeter than the other, right?
I think the 96 title, just because that completed the Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people have asked me, which is your sweetest championship? They're all special. We have, 14 wonderful championships, each have their own story. But I mean, without the 96 title, you don't complete the Grand Slam.
That's right. Well,
without contributing our team in 98, we also potentially could have had a second Grand Slam.
That's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here's something that Charlie wrote. I don't know how you're going to respond to this, but I'll fire anyway. SMC teams or MVP teams?
Wow, now you're asking for trouble. Look, I don't know what you're asking.
All right, we can skip that one. All right, here's another one. Derek Hamilton or Marquise Bragg?
You know, I think Derek was a more Marquis. They're very different players, but I'd go with Derek.
Okay. How about this one? Winston Cright or Sylvester Gray?
Wow. I'll go with Gray, Sylvester.
Yeah. Big dude, does a lot of stuff. All right. This one, I don't know. This might end up in a tie once again, but you might answer this one in your favor. Jeffrey Cariaso or Kenneth Duremdes?
You know, I'm going to give that a tie too. I mean, they're both very special people.
This one might break the tie. Poch or Sonny Thoss?
I'm going to go with Sonny. I mean, I love that. Poch was a great member of our franchise, but Sonny's from draft day to his retirement, we retired his number. You know, the epitome of an Alaska ace player.
Poch sometimes watches the show though, so I hope he's taking this one.
Poch, no offense. No offense, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Next one is Bong Alvarez or Cyrus Baguio.
I'm going to go with Cyrus on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next one, L.A. Tenorio or Willie Miller.
Both good guys. L.A.
All right. Next one, the 1998 Asian Games bronze or the 1998 Jones Cup gold.
I'm going to go with 98 Asian Games.
Yeah, the golden bronze, as they call it, right? I have one more question. It's not a choice right here, but this is just out of curiosity. And Charlie wanted to know as well. Name 3 players that you badly wanted to play for your team, but you never got them.
Well, I'm gonna go with Danny. I think Danny would have been a key addition to us. You know, I think Alvin would have brought a lot to the franchise, but you know, Alvin was so endeared at Pure Foods and was treated in a very special way, and he wouldn't have been treated that way with us at Alaska. He would have been just one of the guys. And a third player. Boy, this is a really good question. I haven't given it that much thought. I'd have to think about that.
Well, just to add some spice, Alan K. Dick was also almost part of Alaska, if you recall.
That's true.
He was trying out in '87.
Actually, you bring two names. So Alan, I mean, the sweetest shooter ever to be in the PBA, but then also Meneses, Verhel Meneses.
Oh yeah,
In fact, Meneses was our tormentor when we lost to Sunkist twice in '95.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Meneses would have, maybe then I remember Meneses hit a 3-pointer against us once from about 45 feet out, and just broke our back in a finals game. So would have been nice to turn the tables around.
But it's just weird, because it was Alan who actually told me the story that he was actually already trying out with you guys in '87, but somehow he wound up with Tivoli or Presto.
Great taste. 87. Yeah.
Great
there was
taste,
a trade,
right?
Yeah, there was that trade. They got the number 1 pick.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
What's the next,
we're done with X's and O's already at this point. We got about 5 minutes left before we have to let Fred go. I'm gonna go to my segment now. It's called Keep on Punching. My segment's called Keep on Punching. These are all Joe Cantada terms, by the way, Fred. I just want to know, how does Fred Uytengsu want to be remembered in basketball? Not only in basketball, how does Fred Uytengsu want to be remembered?
It's funny. Lately, at this stage in my career, I've been asked that a couple of times. I'm going to be remembered how people want to think, whether it was in business or in sports. I mean, my now that I have 3 grandchildren, I think first and foremost that my family is the most important. And throughout my career, there were times when I wasn't there for them, and I tried to prioritize that. But my first responsibility is to my family, to make sure my children are good citizens, good human beings, and that they go off and raise great families, and we're a happy family. Everything after that is really a bonus. During the pandemic, I had the luxury of spending all the time with them. I was in the US for an extended period, and as tough as it was during the pandemic, to be able to spend all that time with your family is very special. So,
amen to that.
Family first, maybe a principled person second.
Yeah, that's actually the part that I remember the most, the principled person. And it really influenced a lot of your players to be the way they are now. They get into coaching, they get into other stuff. The principles that they learned being part of the Alaska Aces franchise has stayed with them. I'm going to turn it over now to Sid.
It's interesting you say it, Noel, because over the years, I've had random emails or text messages from past players, and they said, boss, at the time I thought you were crazy, it was unreasonable, but now I know what you're talking about. So it resonated. They might not have liked what I was when I was pushing and forcing them to kind of toe the line, but now, and especially if they either moved into coaching, but some of them moved on to business or doing other things. And I think the light went off. Might have taken 5 years or 10 years, but the light went off. The light bulb went off.
That's the ultimate compliment, I guess, right?
That is.
Very gratified to have seen that.
Go ahead, Sid.
All right, now my section, Fred, is called Seryosong Tanong. It's brought to you by Seryoso Chili Garlic.
Love that stuff.
Okay, delicious, aromatic, and crispy chili garlic bits in pure coconut oil. Please use that voucher code on the screen, ABIG AEOB, up to May 31st on Shopee. All right, to get discounts on Seryoso Chili Garlic. Ito ang chili garlic na seryosong manghang at kaya kang ipaglaban, di gaya ng ex mo. Okay, I have to get that in. So, my seryosong tanong, Fred, who is your all-time Alaska starting 5? Just locals.
Wow. Wow.
Just locals, okay.
Just locals.
Wow. So Johnny, Jojo, Bong, Hawkins. Wow. Jeffrey.
You need a 5 in there. You need a 5.
You need a center.
Yeah, I'm looking for a 5th. Yeah, I know there's someone from a more recent period that I like Kenneth.
Yeah.
No, so we're small. We're playing small ball. We're playing small ball, but
I was about to suggest Sonny Thoss, but of course, small ball is the thing right now. Right. So that's actually those guys actually played together at one point in your team's evolution.
We were really successful with that, and so maybe my judgment's clouded by that. I mean, there are many other players that probably deserve to be in that, but if those are the names that come, they were exciting players. They were, they worked hard. They played as a team.
Yeah. I think Jeff was no longer with the team in '98 when Kenneth joined the team, right? I think Jeff was
they didn't play together.
They didn't play together, but still solid starting five. Yeah, won a lot of championships. Okay.
All right, I got a segment now. This is going to be the last one. It's called Hello Porky, and this is of course brought to us by Mang Lechon, Kamuning Branch. Craving for Cebu Lechon? Visit Mang Lechon, Kamuning Branch at 38 Kamuning Road, Quezon City. Pag natikman mo, siguradong mahuhulog ka sa sarap. All right, at this point, Fred, it's your time to thank everybody who has been a part of your journey. Not only with the PBA, but even in your entire life's journey to this point, 61 years later. All right. So now's your opportunity to say thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, the first is thanking my parents, for having given me this opportunity. My father, especially, who trusted a 24-year-old kid who didn't know what he was getting to. And giving me the chance to create the franchise, develop it into what it became, and to learn from it. My wife and my family who tolerated my time in the PBA, who lived with me during the times when we came home from a loss, and I was probably an unbearable person to be with. And, to the PBA for this amazing journey. I know I've had, since I've come back, so many people who've said they're so sad that we are there. But I said we had 35 years of an amazing journey to do this. We had success along the way, and it wouldn't have been possible, without the league, the fans, and of course the coaching staff and the players. I hope they too will have many fond memories when they look back at their time at Alaska, and. I wish the league continued success and that they continue to think league.
Okay, good statement right there. Fred, thank you very much for your time. We've gone a little overtime with you, 2 minutes overtime. We apologize for that. But we want to have a part two of this. There's so many things that we still want to talk about, the nitty gritty of how the Aces, develop as a team, the roller coaster, and of course, everybody knows about the departure from the league, but that's pretty much public knowledge right now. But at the end of the day, it has been Wilfred Steven Uytengsu who has been at the forefront of the Alaska franchise and will continue to inspire people because of the principles that he has bestowed to very many people in the wake of his passing through this entire world of sports. Fred, thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thank you, guys. Let me know when you want to go a second round.
All right.
Okay, here we go. We're going to take you up on that. Well, of course, Charlie couldn't be with us, but he's with us in spirit. Jay Mercado, always with us in spirit. Aaron Ardenson working in the background with us. We will announce our next guest on An Eternity of Basketball very, very soon. But for now, on behalf of Sid Ventura and, of course, our guest, the great Wilfred Steven Uytengsu, my name is Noel Zarate. That's it for episode 130 of An Eternity of Basketball. We will see you next Saturday. Paalam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too.